No one gets anywhere and Allah breaks such intentions. So that is that help from the unseen to that person because of those carnal intentions and desires a person has. Sometimes we find that izzat, which is respect, it is given to us by Allah. We can't get that respect. We can't buy respect. Especially nowadays, the thing which children say a lot, the first thing when we talk about someone, is he famous? Is she famous? So fame, it's nothing that can be bought. You've got Niagara Falls over here. They are famous, but does someone love them? No one loves Niagara Falls. I'm longing to see, or Himalayas, for example. Izzat, it's something which is given by Allah. Respect is given by Allah. And someone who is granted that respect becomes the beloved among the community. And as it was mentioned repeatedly in the past few nights, that fame, that honor, that respect is sought by association with Allah. That first ayah, from the second ayah from Surah Al-Baqarah, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, that is by faith, by having that iman, by possessing the qualities of right prayers. With that package, that fame, that respect also comes through. Now, sometimes you find that in a community, in a society, you may have a gangster. Everyone is scared of him. So no one walks by him. He may hurt, he may harm, he may beat someone up, or take away whatever we possess, because that's the gangster. But Allah helps in such cases. He helps in a way so that that gangster, that bully is defamed, is disgraced, is disrespected in the most wretched way. He helps in a very simple way. How? Give my drone back. That is disgrace. That someone who is at the height of that fame has to bow down and say that, give it back to me, it's mine. So Allah gives that fame. Allah gives that honor. And when that disgrace is given to that person, on the contrary, respect is given to the other party. Izzat is given to that party. فَإِنَّ الْعِزَّةَ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Izzat belongs to Allah, respect belongs to Allah, all of it. Not that we say that 1% is mine, 99% is Allah's. No, all of that honor is Allah's. If He gives something to us, it is from His respect, His share, His, and that is due to that association we have with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Or for example, look into Quran, we find Hazrat Maryam alayha salam, she gives birth. In that barren land, no one with her, she alone with Prophet Isa, resting on that tree which is dry, no fruit in that tree. She is hungry. Someone who has just delivered is hungry, is thirsty. She says, what do I do, Lord? I'm hungry. Instructions, shake that dry tree, Maryam, and you get fresh dates that fall from that tree. That is help from the unseen. That someone who strives in the way of Allah, Allah helps. And that is His word. Manja says that Jahadu fina lanahdiyannahum subulana. That someone who strives in my cause, in my way, I will guide him. I will guide all the different paths to him. Now, applying this concept that someone who strives in my way, I will help him from the unseen. In this 33 days war that we had just a few years ago, Ayatollah Misbah Yazdi, one of the greatest philosophers, fuqaha, living in Qom, he travels to Lebanon. There he says that I met Sayyid Hassan in this meeting, and in this meeting he says that I saw this Sayyid after the fame he got in this 33-day war. He is much more mutawazi, much more down to earth, much more humble. Now someone who has reached that height of fame, there is automatically a twist in his performance that after all it's me who did something. I was the first person, the CEO of that entity, etc. He says, now Ayatollah Misbah, he's about 30-35 years older than Sayyid Hassan. He says, I saw this Sayyid much more humble than before. And I asked him how and what happened. He says, in reply, he said, we did not do anything. Everything was a help from the unseen. Everything was a help from the unseen. And then what he narrates over here, it's much more beautiful. He says, he being in the headquarters, now you can find this, there's a magazine online called Maw'ud Online. Just do a search and you'll find the complete interview that is present.
How do you spell that?
Maw'ud Online, M-A-O-U-D-D, online. And there he says that when I asked him, he says, I did not do, nothing was done by us. Me in the headquarters, every 15 minutes, after every 15 minutes, I was informed what is happening in the forefronts. And in the last 2-3 days, he said that we were out of everything. No equipments, no ammunitions. We couldn't fight. And especially the last day, he says that we got communications from the forefronts that what should we do? And he gave the instructions back. If you want, you fight. If you want, you return. If you want, you can stay there, get shaheed. Option is open to you. He says at this moment, he has a tawassul. A tawassul with Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, that Allah help. It is that honor, that respect, that fame of Islam which is in danger. Now he has this tawassul, and after 15 minutes, he gets a news back. And that is hit at that target, that is the right target. Come on, hit. They say we did not hit. No missiles we had to shoot, nothing. But how come it was hitting and landing at that target? Over here he says that I had that tawassul, and all of a sudden a vision, a mukashifa opens before me. And there I see a tall lady amidst the battlefront. She is present, and someone told me that's Hazrat Zainab. He says I ran to her and I started pleading, crying that Sayyida Ammati, my aunt, help me. Do something, our respect is at stake, our izzat is at stake. She says, why do you worry, Sayyid? My mother, she is there, she has already taken the charge of it. And he says that I saw a hand starting and pointing at a target, and these missiles were being shot. So someone who had nothing in hand, Quran says, وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى, that it wasn't you who shot, it was Allah who shot those arrows, Allah who shot those spears. So help from the unseen. Why did this help come from the unseen? الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. That is those who have faith in the unseen. وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ, and they keep up prayer. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, and all that we have blessed them, bestowed upon them, they give away from that. So that is help from the unseen, that someone who steps in this field of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, he is helped by Allah. We talked about الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Ghaib means unseen. There is a salawat which is known as Salawat Shaykh Tusi. You can find it in the books of du'as. There it says, Allahumma salli wa zid wa barik ala sahib al-da'wat al-nabawiyya wa sawlat al-hashimiyya. Continues and lists each one of the titles of Ma'sumeen, and comes to the 11th Imam saying that wal haybat al-askariyya, and addressing the 12th Imam says wal ghaybat al-ilahiyya. Ghaybat al-ilahiyya, that is ghayba, it is one of the names that we have for our 12th Imam. It's ghaib. And it is amazing that Imam, why should he have that name? None of the other Ma'sumeen ever had this title or this name which is ghaib. Only the name of our 12th Imam. If we deserve to live freely in this world, Imam also deserves to live freely like us. But how come something has been imposed on him, as a result of which he cannot live like we are living? So this ghaibat which is imposed on the Imam, it is something which was imposed by us, by our ancestors. That is, the bad performance of the lazy Shias resulted in Imam being put away, Imam being imposed with this ghaibat. So in reality, it is us we are helping in this, that is, Imam is away from us. So what we have to do over here is that we have to try, correct ourselves, fix ourselves, as a result of which this ghaibat which is imposed on the Imam, it is removed. And for that we have to strive hard. One of the other things we have to give a lot of importance to is to have a very close relationship with the Imam of time. We have to have that. There are different ways for that. One of them, it's by du'as, by prayers, by reciting the 2 rakat namaz of Imam al-Zaman. And then you've got all these tawassuls. Friday, specify it for the Imam, recite dua nudba, etc. One of the other things which is the simplest of all is once in a while, if you could daily, if not once in a week, sit and talk to the Imam. Now again, a lesson to myself first. That is, just sit and have a friendly chat with the Imam. Riwayat, they say that for the Imam, for you to communicate with him, you don't need to write. You don't need to speak. You intend in your heart and it's in his inbox instantly. That is so fast. That is, before you have uttered anything with your tongue, it's already there. Such a close connection we have with the Imam, but in reality, we are away from him. We are very, very distant from him. So we have to fix ourselves in this aspect. We have to correct this relationship that we have with the Imam. Riwayat that we have, they are such that they say you have to have a bond with the Imam so much. Now in our houses, the cheapest thing that we can find in the kitchen, it's the table salt, the cheapest. Riwayat says that as much as that table salt of yours and the shoelaces you need, if you want them, ask them from the Imam. That is, have so much of a relationship with him that ask everything from him. One of the students in Madrasiyya Fayziyya in Qom, he says, now this is something about 30, 40 years ago. He says, once I was very desperate. I had run out of every grocery, nothing to eat, nothing to drink, no money left, and I did not want to ask anyone to help me. Now this is that faith, that aqeedah, that iman a person has, with that 100% certainty, yaqeen, he approaches someone and he gets it. So with that yaqeen, if we come to the doorstep of Allah, to the doorstep of Ma'asumeen, we will definitely get it. The reason why we don't get it, Gar geda kahil buwad, taqsir sahib khane cheest. We don't know how to beg. When we don't know how to beg, then we can't expect anything to be given to us. Here he says that when I got stuck, I couldn't find anything. I said, I'll make a list of the things I need. Potatoes, rice, onions, salt, whatever, oil, kerosene. He was just listing the whole grocery list. And the final item on the list that he said, I wrote, there was someone knocking at the door. And it was Hajawai Fakhr, one of the great ulama who passed away about 20 years ago. He knocks at the door with a grocery bag in his hand and says, Imam has sent this for you. So that is that bond. If we have that sincere bond with the Imam, we get it. It is impossible not to get it if we don't. So the problem is in us. So we have to have that bond with the Imam and to the maximum. The more we have it, the more we benefit. As that hadith we said, that the more hope we have in Allah, the more we benefit in the hereafter. The same thing is over here. Some of the great people that we have, they benefited from the voice of the Imam. They recognized the voice of the Imam. Some have seen the Imam. Some who are just the economy class mu'mineen, they can see the Imam in their dreams. Some can see him in mukashifat during the day, which is a dream during the day. But it is possible. There is a quote from the Prophet. He says that whatever I see, you can see. Now the reason why we don't see, it's because the inputs to the soul that we have, they are contaminated. They are dirty. Now the inputs to the soul are 7. The 2 eyes, the 2 ears, the mouth, and the 2 private parts. They are the inputs to the soul. Hadith says that if you keep them intact, if you protect them, if they are clean, you will see wonders. And the reason why we don't enjoy when we say our prayers, it's because outside the prayers, these inputs to the soul, they are always pumping in trash, pumping in garbage, seeing all that we don't want to see, hearing all that we shouldn't hear. And that is why when we start to say our prayers, we say Allahu Akbar, everything which has been collected in this soul, it starts pumping out. Because these inputs are not secure outside the prayers. For us to enjoy the prayers, they have to be secure outside the prayers so that we can enjoy. A person comes to Marhum Ayatullah al-Uzma Iraqi and says that, what do I do so that I don't have all these thoughts during my prayers? Because when I say Allahu Akbar, my soul, it starts wandering everywhere. He says, what do you do? He says, I make doors and windows. I'm a carpenter. He says, make one for your heart. Make a door for your heart and shut it. That is, don't leave it open so that everything which is outside gets into your heart. So now these things, they may sound a bit tough, but they are easy. It's simple. If we practice them, apply them, don't listen to everything, don't see everything, don't eat everything, and protect ourselves from every haram, we will see wonders. Now Imam, to see him, we need a pure eye, an eye which is tahir from every contamination. And if that we possess, then there is no barrier, there is no hijab between us and the Imam. So here Rasulullah says that if you protect yourself, you can see what I see. And then he says that the lowest level of someone who can benefit from what I see is in dreams, that he can see in his dreams what I see during the day, if not everything, at least some of it. Now the reason why we don't even see there, it's because of this contamination, the wrong that we do during the day. Marhum Sayyid ibn Taus is among those great personalities who recognizes the voice of the Imam. He says, once I went into the Sardab, and there I hear Imam has a dua. Imam says, Allahumma inna shi'atana qad khalaqta min shu'a'i anwarina. That is, O God, the Shias, our Shias, you have created with our light, with our nur. وَقَدْ فَعَلُوا ذُنُوبًا كَثِيرًا. And then says, God, they have committed a lot of sins, a lot of wrong. And then Imam says, God, if the wrong they have done, it's huququllah, like prayers, like fasts, like hajj. Says that if it is among these issues, says, I will mediate, you forgive them, you waive them, the wrong that they have done. And then he says, if it is huququn nas, money matters, says, God, make them so much rich that khums becomes wajib on them. And then says, khums is my right. I will pay their dues, their debts, their funds with this money which is mine. That is, we have an Imam who is so kind, who is so compassionate. When we have an Imam who is, and one of the titles that we have for Rasulullah is Rahmatun lil Alameen, mercy to the worlds. The same title is for the Imam of time, Rahmatun lil Alameen, that he is the mercy to the worlds. But the picture that is given of the Imam, it's a negative picture. That is bad. That is not a service that we provide. Imam, when he comes, it's with that mercy, it's with that compassion he will rule. He will invite people with His mercy, with His love, with His grace. يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا, that people, they will enter into the army, into this deen of Allah in swarms, in large numbers, not with the sword. It's with that love, that kind nature of the Imam. It's that compassion and that mercy. Now when we have such a merciful Imam who is looking after us, riwayat, they say that never ever doubt that He is unaware of you. He sees you, He knows you, so much so that He says that when you fell ill, I have du'as for you. Says that when you fell down, it is me who says ouch. When you fell and you are in pain, it is me, it hurts me. And when you raise your hands for du'as, it is me who says Ameen. So we have such a merciful, such a compassionate, loving Imam. Or for example, in that plain of Arafat, which is the day of Imam al-Asr, or in reality Hajj, the essence of Hajj is Imam himself. Says that all the manasik that you perform throughout the Hajj on one side, and being in Arafat for those 3 hours on one side. Do nothing in Arafat, just stay there. Because that is the place where 100% Imam is present. And riwayat, they say that Imam is there with Prophet Khizr. Why is Prophet Khizr present in that Maidan of Arafat? Millions of Hajis having du'as. Says his task on that day of Arafat is to say Ameen, 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 Ameen to du'as of every Haji present over there. And hadith, it says that if you come to that plain of Arafat and you doubt you have not been forgiven, you have committed another sin. That is, someone who comes there is forgiven. His wrong is all gone. And if we doubt, no, maybe I'm not forgiven, I have committed another sin on top of all the wrong that I have done. Presence of Imam in Arafat does those wonders. So Imam, compassionate existence, a loving existence, a merciful Imam. In Nahjul Balagha says, Salawat. Rumayla, one of the companions of Amirul Mu'mineen, he is ill. He couldn't come out of his house for a few days, having temperature, high fever. He says on that Friday he was feeling a bit better. And I said to myself, the best thing I can do on this Friday is that perform a wuzu, go to masjid and say my prayers behind Amirul Mu'mineen, which is the best of tasks that I can do. He says, performs this wuzu, comes and starts his prayers behind Amirul Mu'mineen, and amidst his khutbah, that fever is back. He starts shaking, shivering. Everyone leaves. He is the last one present in that mosque, and Amirul Mu'mineen also comes. He says, Rumayla, how are you? He says, yes, this is what has happened to me. I'm shivering, shaking and fever. Says, yes. Imam then recites this hadith, that none of the Shias is as such that when he falls ill, we don't know. We also are ill with him. We pray for them. We are disturbed when they are disturbed. When there is a calamity which falls upon them, we are also hurt because of that close bond that we find with the Shias and the Imam. There is another hadith, says that Shi'atuna qad khuliqu min fadili tinatina wa ujinu bi nur al-wilaya. Now this you can witness it yourself. Again, it was mentioned yesterday that a majlis give a lot of importance to it, no matter where it is held. You may not enjoy marsiyas, you may not enjoy nohas, doesn't matter. Just sit there as mark of respect, even if you don't enjoy. Because that hadith that was recited, Man baka abka aw tabaka, someone who cries or makes others cry or resembles those who cry, wajabat lahul jannah, jannah becomes wajib on them. So many a times we may find that we don't understand anything in that majlis. I'll quote an incident in the end, and then you can know what exactly is behind the scenes and how this help from the unseen comes to us. Even if we don't enjoy, doesn't matter, just as mark of respect to that majlis, because we believe that in this majlis, Ma'asumeen, they attend. Hazrat Zahra, she attends. Abu Abdullah, he comes. And if that majlis is for Hazrat Zahra alayha salam, host of that majlis is Amirul Mu'mineen and Hasanain. They said, now those who have got those firewalls removed and they can see the realities and haqa'iq, they say that a majlis which is held for Zahra, Amirul Mu'mineen is present there. He looks at each one of those present in that majlis. One of those looks of Imam, one of those sights of Imam upon us is sufficient for our dunya, barzakh and our qiyamah forever, for everything of ours. So a majlis, no matter what it is, give a lot of importance to it. Here says that sometimes when you come to a majlis, no one has recited anything, no one has uttered anything, you feel like crying. When you look at these black banners, sometimes you feel disturbed, you feel like crying. Or if it is a happy occasion, 15th of Sha'ban, birth of Imam al-Asr, you look at those red banners, you look at the name, you feel happy. What is that? Has anyone recited something for you that makes you happy? Has anyone recited something to you today that you are looking at these black banners, you are disturbed? Hadith says that our Shias, they have been created with the leftover clay with which Ma'sumeen were created. And that clay was mixed with the noor of wilayah. That is the bond we have with Ma'sumeen. That when we look at these banners on the day of Ashura, we are hurt. We feel so much hurt, like we feel like shedding tears. Because of that bond we have with Ma'sumeen, that we were created with the same clay with which they were created. One of the ways, so here Sayyid ibn Taus says, I heard Imam, he says that forgive them in the wrong they have done in Huququllah, forgive them in the wrong they have done in Huququn Nas, and I will mediate and I would want you to forgive. And when Imam al-Asr, he mediates, Allah definitely accepts. That is the concept of shafa'at we have. And for that shafa'at to be activated, we have to have something in us. And those basics are that iman in ghaib, in Allah, in the day of judgment, and top it up with some actions. Now how do we understand this concept of shafa'at? If you want to go shopping, we have nothing in our pocket. Can we just go there, buy the stuff and say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, we have nothing, and can you just sell this to us? No one is going to give that to us. Or we have these credit cards with zero credit in it, and we want to buy something. We cannot buy. To get that limit raised, we have to have that credit file good. So when you call them, they will increase it. Shafa'at also works in the same way. That we have to have something, some type of sort of credit in us, so that that can be increased, so that we can benefit from Ma'sumeen alayhimus salam. If we have nothing, no iman in Allah, no iman in Qiyam, and we want Shafa'at, how can that benefit? So there has to be something with us, and for the shortfall, we ask them to help, and that help can be granted to us. That is Shafa'at. One of the ways we can associate with the Imam of time is by this Dua al-Ahd. Dua al-Ahd to be recited every day in the morning after your Fajr prayers. You've got two versions of it. One version is the larger one, which would take about 4 or 5 minutes of yours. Gradually it will reduce to 2 minutes, because once you memorize it. The other one, it's just half a page in Mafatihul Janan, and it would take about 2 minutes of yours after your Fajr prayers. And our sixth Imam, he says that someone who recites this dua for 40 days, and if death intervenes, he will be raised when the Imam returns to serve him. That is among the beauties of this dua. That is because of that bond he had, he will be raised. There is a book called Siyahat al-Sharq. It's written by Marhum Qujani. And there is another one called Siyahat al-Gharb. Siyahat al-Gharb, you've got the English version of it. It's called The Journey to the Unseen. The other one, you don't have it in English. There, Marhum Qujani, he has written his own life after death in that book. Shaheed Mutahari, at that time, he was a young student. He says that, how come you've written your own life after death? He says, all these visions that I saw, topped it up with the riwayat that we have, an ayat from Quran. Based upon that, I wrote my own life after death in this book, in his old age. He says that when I died, starts the book as such. When I died, it's my first day in Barzakh. And the guide he has, who shows him around Barzakh, it's someone called Hadi. Says, Hadi came to me and says, this is the first day in Barzakh, and today there is a group of people who want to come and pay a visit to you. He says, who are they? He says, all these visitations and ziyarat you had throughout your life to the Imamzadas, that is the family members of the Imams, they want to come and welcome you in Barzakh. What great joy that a person who is all alone in his grave being welcomed by the Imamzadas who he had paid a ziyarat, a visit to. So whatever we have in this dunya, it remains. Whosoever we associate and love, that also remains. Hadith says that man ahabba hajaran, that whosoever loves a stone, he will be raised and resurrected with that stone. There is this book I mentioned yesterday, Nami as Bi Nishanha. There quotes an incident from Marhum Sheikh Hassan Ali Isfahani, and a similar has been mentioned from the Prophets as well. Here he says that once Sheikh is with his students in the grave, in the cemetery, and to his students he says that, can you hear what is happening in that grave? He says, I can't. We don't have that authority, that ability to listen to the graves. They come to the grave and he says that from the grave we hear, we've got tomatoes, we've got green vegetables, we've got cucumbers, come and buy from me. What is being marketing from the grave? He says, amazed to hear that. How come we can hear that message from there? Takes him to another grave, says, what do you hear now? Says, Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, and all these recitals. And then the students ask the Ustad, what was that and what is this? Says, the utmost endeavor of the first grave was that in this dunya, he loved to have that items which he had to be sold. That was his utmost enthusiasm and acquaintance in this dunya. That is what he loved, that is what has remained with him in his grave. The second grave, that is what he loved, that is what has remained with him. If we have that acquaintance with ma'asumeen, it is them who will be with us. If we have acquaintance with this dunya, that dunya is going to be with us. It's simple. So, this dua, and there Hadi, he says that those Imamzadas, they want to come and pay a visit to you, and he is extremely happy. There's another book called Sirr Dil Baram. It's quite a small book, very nice. Those who can read Farsi, read it. It's beautiful. Here Marhum Ayatollah Ruzma Araki, Sheikh Murtaza Ha'iri, his beauty was that living in Qum, Mashhad is 1,000 kilometers away from Qum. Whenever he got a chance, he visits Mashhad. Throughout his life, which he lived for about 100 years, he pays 115 odd visits to Mashhad. In the old days, when he was getting old, and it was tough, there were no flights, and trains also were not so good. So when he wanted to travel, sometimes he used to take a bucket with him, and if there wasn't any place in the bus to sit, he turns the bucket upside down, sits on that bucket, goes for that 1,000 kilometers, which is about a day to Mashhad. Getting old children, they say that it's enough ziyarat that you've performed. Now you can just stay at home and read the ziyarat from here. He says, no, just let me continue. This old man, he dies. The son, he says, I saw him, that all these ziyarat you paid to Imam Raza, now the third day after his burial, did they benefit you? He says, more than the times I visited the Imam, he has already visited me in these 3 days that I am in my grave. That is that association, ziyarat. Here says that I was in the first day of my barzakh in my grave. Imamzadas, they come to visit me. I was extremely happy. And then Habib ibn Mazahir, he says, he comes to visit me. And I ask him, who are you? He says, I'm Habib, an old man who has come to visit. And then he says, I've got a message for you, and that is from Zainab. She says that, Quchani, we haven't forgotten the tears you shed for us. We haven't forgotten the azars you held for my brother. We haven't forgotten all those visitations, your journeys to Karbala. We haven't forgotten. All that is safe. What you see now, it's just a sample that is being sent to you, that all these Imamzadas, they have come to pay a visit to you. All that is secure, and it will be paid back to you at a later time. And there he says that amidst this joy, this happiness that I had on my first day in Barzakh, I see there are two young lads, both of them armed, with a sword hanging by their waist. And I say to Habib ibn Mazahir, who are they? He says, one is Abbas, one is Ali Akbar. They have come to visit you. And he says, do you need arms in Barzakh? Do you need these ammunitions? He says, no, you don't need arms in Barzakh. The reason why they are armed, it's because they wanted to serve the Imam of their time, which was Abu Abdullah. They had high aspirations and hopes to serve him. They did not get that opportunity to help. So they are waiting here in Barzakh so that the Imam returns, and they want to come back and serve the Imam of time. In this dua al-ahad, we find these phrases that Allahumma in hala bayni wa baynahu al-maut, that Allah, if death intervenes between me and him, فَأَخْرِجْنِي مِنْ قَبْرِي, raise me from my grave, مُعْتَزِرًا كَفَنِي, in my shroud, شَاهِرًا سَيْفِي, with that sword available, ready to serve. So that is dua al-ahad. Have that bond with the Imam, recite that dua al-ahad every day, the shorter version, and you've got it online in all different formats, whichever format you fancy, audio, video, PPT, PDF, whatever. So that is another association with the Imam of time, and it has beautiful, beautiful benefits in this dunya. I'll quote this and we'll conclude. During the time of Marhum Ayatullah al-Uzma Milani, who was among the great Maraji al-Taqleed, who passed away in the 1950s, he quotes, says that there were two brothers living in Najaf, living in Iran, and a group of Zawars, they come from Bombay. They come and tell him, when they come, these two Zakirs, Maddahs, were in Karbala, and they come and say to them, come on, recite for us in India. Someone who is reciting in Farsi in Najaf is invited to recite for those living in India. So language doesn't matter. Whether you understand a Marsiya doesn't matter. Whether you understand a Noha or not doesn't matter. Because when it comes to a majlis of Hussein, the language is the language of love. We may not understand what the speaker is saying, what they are reciting, but there is some communication between us and that majlis, and that is that language of love. They invite these two brothers to Bombay, and they recite, and they become frequent visitors, the two Maddahs, the two Zakirs. And then they say that on one of these trips, when the two brothers, they arrive, and it was a journey by sea. The younger brother says to the elder brother that we are mustati and we must perform a hajj. Hajj is wajib on us. The elder brother says that we have committed, we have to recite here. We can't say no to them. There is a little debate between the two brothers, and the younger one says that I am going to go for hajj, and I'll try and return as early as I can so that I can continue with the reciting here in Bombay in the month of Safar. He sets off for Hajj. When he comes back and he is welcomed by these hosts in India, he says the welcome was different. It wasn't like as it was always. He finds that there is some disturbing news as to why this welcoming was different. He finds that his elder brother has died. Says, I was worried, very worried for two things. One, that he has died away from his homeland, here in India with no one of his family members present. And secondly, he has died not performing a Hajj. Has tawassul, a communication with Allah. Now this is again something to learn. That when we want to know something, we can get it, and that is by tawassul. Call upon Allah, recite du'as, offer a 2 rakat prayer, speak to Him, say, Allah, I want a solution for this problem, and you will get a solution. And that is how we ask Him. And when He gets this solution, and that is that communication is created between him and his dead brother, says, where are you? How did you end? He says, don't ask. Everything was tough. Everything was really painful. And I was in a very bad shape, but very soon the situation is going to change. The younger brother says, what happened? Tell me. He says that one Hajj which I did not perform, as a result of that, I was assigned, my death was tough. I died a painful death. And then he says that because Amirul Mu'mineen, he is Qasimun Nari wal Jannah. He is the distributor of the hell and the heaven. Says Amirul Mu'mineen instructed that I be taken to a worse cell to be punished even more. He says the moment, now because he was a zakir, a maddah, his acquaintance, association was tawassul, reciting for Ahlul Bayt. He says the moment I was being taken to that worst cell, I started pleading, crying, Daste mano inayato, lutfu ataye Fatime, qalbi mano mahabbato, rooz jazaye Fatime. ببذل دست فاطمه به خاک پای فاطمه منم گدای فاطمه منم گدای فاطمه. Says that this my heart you see, O Lord, and this my hand, it is extended to the grace of Fatima. By the dust of the feet of Fatima, by this love that you see in my heart, and by Fatima, I am a beggar of Fatima, I am a beggar of Fatima. He says, when I start pleading like that, 2 angels, they appear. She appears. She comes and says, what's up? He says, I've got a shortfall in my performance. Hajj I did not do, as a result of which Amirul Mu'mineen has punished me, assigned me that cell. She says to the 2 angels, take him to Amirul Mu'mineen, tell him that I have mediated, that Zahra has mediated. He takes the 2 angels, they take this maddah to Amirul Mu'mineen. He says that when he sees me, he has a sharp look. Why did you bring him here? Did I not tell you to take him to that cell? Why back here? Take him back. Comes back. All the way through he starts pleading again. Daste mano mahabbato, daste mano inayato, lutfu ataye Fatime, qalbi mano mahabbato, rooz jazaye Fatime. Pleads. This time she says, I'll come with you. She, the 2 angels, this maddah, they come to Amirul Mu'mineen, and before Zahra, Amirul Mu'mineen, he is all respect, all adab. Says, yes Zahra, what can I do? She says, Ali, he has served us. He has cried for us. He has made others cry for us. He has a shortfall, help him. Amirul Mu'mineen says, Zahra, what can I do? Instructions given to me are clear. Someone who has died not performing a Hajj, Mata Yahudiyan aw Nasraniyan, has died a Christian or a Jew. What can I do? Instructions are clear. She says, no Ali, something has to be done. He has served us. Something has to be done. Then she says, Mahdi. Calls her son Mahdi. Immediately Mahdi is present. And then the grandmother says to Imam, Mahdi, I want you to perform a Hajj this year on behalf of this maddah who has a shortfall in his performance, so that he is forgiven, so that that shortfall is removed. And then he says, Imam, after he performed that Hajj, Imam, when he performs a Hajj, it is a Hajj which is qabul, which is all correct, accepted. Says, after that my situation changed. Now we can benefit from ma'asumeen if we have that association here. The more the contact, the more the communication, the more the association, the more the love with them, it is us who are going to benefit in this world, in barzakh and in qiyamah. Riwayat, they say that when you have this bond with Ma'asumeen, don't think that what you see here in this dunya. No, he says that whatever you benefit from them here in this world, it's just a glimpse, just a gloomy picture that you get. In reality, it is that barzakh and Qiyamat which you will benefit a lot from Ma'asumeen alayhim salam. Zainab Kubra, in these days, who is the messenger of Karbala, is hurt the most. Born, named by the Prophet, and like other members who were born to Zahra and Ali, when they are born, situation is different. It's not a happy occasion, everyone is crying here. Rasulullah names him, and that is because Allah named her to be named as Zainab. She says that throughout her life she had 7 trips, out of which just a few of them were in respect, and worst of all were these trips that she had from Karbala all the way back to Medina. When she wants to embark these animals, these rides, on one side you've got Abul Fazl assisting her, Ali Akbar helping her, Qasim putting the footstool so that she gets on the ride. But after Karbala, the situation is different. There is no one to help. And riding a camel, it is tough. With no footstool, with no assistance, she is the one who has to make all the children sit, and then she has to sit herself. Yahya Mazani, one of the neighbors of Zainab, says, I was her neighbor for 7 years. I never knew as to whether she lived in that house or not. I never saw her. I didn't even know how tall she is, how she looks. That hijab of Zainab. Zainab who has that hijab, Zainab who has that cover, Zainab who has that protection, is being taken as a show from Karbala all the way to Sham. There is a phrase we find in Maqatil that dakhalat Zainab bint Ali ala ibn Ziyad, that Zainab, daughter of Ali, she enters the court of Ibn Ziyad. One of the ulama, he says that sentence is enough for us to cry. We don't need to recite the Masaib. That one sentence, it's enough musibat. Zainab, daughter of Ali, Zainab, the granddaughter of Rasulullah, who is the first person of Islam, living in the headquarters of Islam, she being taken with that disgrace and disrespect, that is enough musibat for us to cry. She is the one who gives strength to Abu Abdullah on that day of Ashura. When the body of Ali Akbar was brought on that day, she just quickly takes the body in and sends Abu Abdullah back to the war, so that a father, upon seeing the body of his son, is not broken down, says, go. When her sons were killed, she doesn't care at all. And when the heads were distributed after Ashura, they find that there are 2 heads which are as if lost property, no one to cry, no one to mourn for. When they inquired whose are they say it's the sons of Zainab, Aun and Muhammad. They come and see that Zainab has someone else to cry, and that is Hussein. That is that utmost obedience, that height of ita'at that she has to her brother Abu Abdullah and Hussein. Among the things that we find for Hazrat Zainab, the last moments of her life. Abdullah bin Ja'far, her husband, he says that when it was the last day of her life, she is ill. She says to me, Abdullah, take me out in the open, in the heat under the sun. Abdullah says, why, Zainab? She says, my brother Hussein died in that desert under that heat, on that burning, blazing desert of Karbala, and you want me to die under this shelter in this room? I cannot. Says, she is brought out under the sun in that heat, and there he says, I was much more amazed to see something over here. She's got something in her hand, puts it onto her chest, kisses it, hugs it back onto her chest, and continues over and over again until she dies. Says, what was that? It was that blood-stained shirt of Abu Abdullah and Hussein, which she had kept all her life for the few years she lived after Abu Abdullah. That is that love which she had, which remained with her, and that way she gave away her life. Ala la'natullah ala al-qawm al-zalimin. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِلَهِي بِحَقِّ الزَّهْرَاءِ وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها يا الله 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 يا الله. Ya Allah, never separate us from Quran and Ahlul Bayt in this dunya, barzakh or qiyamah, even for a moment. Love of Ahlul Bayt and Quran be given to us and remain with us. Our children to be enlisted among the best of those who loved Ahlul Bayt and Quran. Our children to be enlisted among the best of servants of Quran and Ahlul Bayt. Ilahi, hasten in the return of our Imam, our Master, our Hujjah. Count us among his true servants and his true supporters. All those who are ill and ailing, grant them shifa. All those who have passed away, may Allah elevate their ranks. All those who have wishes, hajat, hopes in these majalis, no matter what hajat, no matter what wishes, all of them be granted to them. Our youth be granted with the best of spouses. Those who have got married with the best of children. And those who are having problems with their family life, may Allah sort them, ease them.